Hello, friends. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. This would be, I'll get the title straightened out after the live is over. This would be Daily Art Adventure number 266, I believe. I started these, by the way, on January 1st of 2017, and I was hoping to do one every day, but I'm averaging about 5 days a week, I think, so that's not bad. And today I am doing a painting for my daughter, who's sitting right over there, and her husband are sitting right over there. Okay, here, we'll turn it around real quickly. Wave, Melody. There's Melody and Jeremy. And they got married a year ago, and I told them I would do a painting of their wedding, and they finally came for a visit, so I'm doing a painting. I'm working from a photograph that's on another phone down there, but enough talking, let's get painting. It was a beautiful, beautiful day when they got married in Elizabeth City. Is that right? Was it in Elizabeth City? Oh, that's right, Elizabethtown. I really know better. I do. Elizabethtown, North Carolina. And the sun was going down. It was an outdoor wedding. And many of you know, this is kind of how I start my painting. So I'm going to take advantage, I hope full advantage of this gorgeous sky that was happening during their wedding. They were standing on a quaint little bridge. And by the way, I'm going to make some little changes. I figured this out already. I'm telling that I'm going to take the fabric down and just have the spindle so we can actually see your whole body standing up there on the bridge. I decided that was a good compromise. Okay, so there's my first splash of color. Usually I start as if you follow me, you know that I usually start with a warm color, but I think this is going to be a cool painting. I don't mean it's going to be cool groovy. I think it's going to be cool color. And I'm going to move my photograph right now. So here's the picture I'm working from. And let's start some drawing. First of all, there's going to be horizon right about here, I believe, and then a bridge that Melody and Jeremy were standing on. Make that a little bit bigger. So you guys, you're going to be about that big. Is that all right? Yeah. And because I feel like the setting was just really beautiful. And and some trees here, some structure over here. Should we tell them where you were getting married, actually, Jeremy?
Yes, it was the White Lake Water Park.
Yes, it was actually, they got married at our water park. I bet that surprises you like it surprised us. But it absolutely was gorgeous. We rented the water park, so there wasn't a lot of screaming and yelling going on. It was the only screaming and yelling was Melody and Jeremy, frankly, and we had the whole place to ourselves, and it was beautiful. They decorated it a little bit, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. I don't think Jeremy's ever. You ever seen me paint before, Jeremy?
No, I've never seen you paint.
Yeah. Well, you'll notice maybe, you might notice I paint with two hands. That's kind of unusual. Although we are starting a revolution, aren't we? Pardon me while I talk to my audience. And let me zoom in here so you guys can watch me paint. You don't need to see my face so much. So, yeah, I'm trying to get artists to catch the vision for painting. There's Melody and there's Jeremy. How about that? And then white dress seen down that far, and Jeremy with tux seen seen that far down. Okay, now you'll notice again. I'm talking to those of you who are my perhaps new friends. I don't want to ruin this energy, the drips, the runs, the streaks, all of that is I like that, and it translates. My favorite word for it is energy, and so that's why I'm not taking another glaze and covering up that one. First of all, if this is wet, that's blue glaze, right? Let's say you took a green while that's still wet and did yellow, I mean to say yellow, on top of blue. What are you going to get? You're going to get green, but it will only be one glaze. Whereas if I wait several minutes for this to dry and then I do yellow on top of blue, we still kind of greenish, but it's not a dull, boring green. It's actually reads. Our eyes, our brains puts it together as two layers of color. See, so it's important for me to let that dry. So while it's drying, I do a couple of different things. One is I drew with brushes. That bought me a few minutes. Then the next thing I'm going to do is draw with pencils. And again, for those of you who are perhaps newcomers to my channel, you need to know that my drawing with pencils is not commensurate with or parallel to what a traditional oil painter used to do with charcoal. When a traditional oil painter used charcoal at the beginning of a painting, he or she was not expecting those charcoal lines to be visible in the final work of art. This, on the other hand, I do very much want the lines to be seen in the final work of art. So quite a different purpose. I started using pencils in my paintings about two and a half years ago. I did a whole bunch of abstract paintings in a period of a couple months, and I started using the pencils in my abstracts and discovered that I enjoyed the effect so much, the effect that the pencils gave, that when I returned to my normal representational paintings, I incorporated sorry, I'm doing two things at the same time, too many things at the same time. I want to go back and find a photograph that I had found earlier. Let's find August of 2016. Here we go. There we go. I know I've got a nice halfway close-up of Melody and Jeremy. There we go. Okay, I'll use that for a minute. So again, here's the image that I'm now looking at. By the way, for those of you who haven't tried it, it turns out that painting from a phone screen is quite a good trick, because the smallness of the screen, whoops, if her head is that big, let me fix this here. If her head is that large, and I want to make it that size, it's too low, so let me try to, I don't usually recommend erasing things, but I'm making an exception this time. So I think she needs to be about that tall. Melody's kind of a tall girl, slightly above average. Okay, there's Melody and Jeremy. There's a preacher right back here, but he's not very important. And there is a best man. Was Steve your best man?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah. Steve, best man Steve, put him right here.
I judged Steve that the dog was my best man.
And Brenda was a maid of honor, wasn't she?
Lupe.
Oh, Lupe was. Okay. Steve's wife. Very good. Okay, so I got them all in there. Does that look about right to you? Those sizes be okay? I'll try to go in there and make them recognizable, but they won't be You won't be big. I feel like it was such a beautiful day. If I can just capture the essence of the moment, so to speak, I'll be happy with it. Okay, so again, while I'm still, most of this is dry now. That original glaze, or original wash is really a better word. I'm using a couple different photographs here. Some very abstract structure going on here. Trees over here, a structure over here, doesn't matter to the audience. I don't care if they can tell what it is or not. That's just a counterbalance. Now, let's talk about this overall composition just for a minute. I'm talking to you painters, to you students. Anytime you do a landscape with this much sky, and especially where it's all sky from here, from this corner to this corner, all the way along the top is sky, that first of all, that's a danger signal. It's like, you better watch out, because you don't want any of the boundaries of your paintings, generally speaking. You don't want any of your boundaries to be all the same shape, all the same object, all the same color. So what happens easily in a landscape is that, oh, it's blue sky all the way across, because it really is blue, but that's a bad composition. So in a situation like this, where I've got sky all the way across, I need to be very sure that I've got some fairly dynamic cloud shapes going out through the top, if you will. I say going out through the top of this sky. Now, here's a trick. I've got a brush here. I'm going to dry it off just a little bit more. This is the brush I used for the blue paint a few minutes ago. Trying to get it so it's almost dry. There we go. Here's a trick, again, for the few areas here that aren't dry yet, I'm just running my brush through them, as you see, very vigorously, so that those little piles that were still wet, that those little piles of acrylic paint will be spread out and they'll dry. Now, they're probably dry by now. Does that make sense? But that only works if you do your marks very vigorously, very fast. You don't go in here and scrub like that. That'll be ugly. The essence of good painting, you know this, don't you? The essence of good painting is making interesting marks. The essence of doing the job, the task of good painting, is the task of making interesting marks. So at no point do you put your brush on the canvas and go brushy, 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 unless you're intentionally diminishing texture, which is not what you do all the time. Okay, let's go back in here to some details, and I'm going to pick up some darker paint. Let me see. What color do I want in here? That's really dirty in there. I'm not a big, because of where I erased some pencil, so I'm not a fan of that grayness, but I'll be able to cover it up later without too much trouble. And you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I said I was going to go in there. I'm not. Let's just get some medium large brushes, and let me do some dark clouds first. So I'm dipping my brushes in some ultramarine and some purple. And I'm looking at my photograph now and saying, I want one dark cloud, roughly, approximately there. And then a couple, that's a little bit too dark, I fear. But the goal, the purpose, the challenge at this point in the my painting process, is to be bold, not to be timid, but to make big strokes, make big marks. I don't think I'm going to like those drips, so I just went ahead and wiped them out. And then down here, a little bit of darkness. By the way, I hope you can see the benefit of working in transparent colors, because if you're working in transparent colors, you're not destroying the work, the details, the work that you did just a few minutes ago. if that makes sense to you. So I can still see my pencil lines in there, even though I just took a brush full of paint and went over it. It's still visible. This is water down here, by the way. So lots of reflection happening down there. Just a pool here. Okay, I think I'm going to pause right here because I want this to dry pretty thoroughly before I proceed to the next layer. So I'm going to give you guys a little break and